Alright, so today I bought a new toy. So if you've seen the thumbnail and the title of this video, you probably already know what this is. Ooh, yes, I finally bought a new, better welder. It's been months, years that I have wanted a new, better welder. I finally bought one. So this machine is a Lincoln Electric Power MIG 210 MP, which is a multi-process welder. It can do MIG, TIG, and stick. The kit that I bought comes with, this is the part I am most excited about this thing. It comes with, or I had to pay extra, to get a TIG setup. This has TIG capability. This is what I'm most excited about, just because I love TIG, I miss TIG welding, and I'm finally excited to finally be able to have the capability of having TIG weld. Unfortunately, it's not AC, it's only DC, so I can't weld aluminum, but I'm still happy with it. I am really excited about having this. I've been waiting for the longest time to be able to afford a much better welder. Alright, so if you're wondering what welder I've been using ever since, I've gotten a lot of questions on my channel of people asking me what welder I normally use, and here it is. This is a Farmhand 125 MIG flux welder. It is MIG flux. I don't have the capability of using gas for this machine, but for what it is, it's actually a really good welder. It really does a really good job of producing a really nice strong bond of material, and this machine I have used for probably 90% of the stuff that I have built. I've used this machine to weld all that stuff together. Now, I've probably had this welder for probably 5 years. I think 5 years ago my dad found this at a garage sale for $100. He bought it for my birthday, and this welder is actually the thing that started me into welding, started my YouTube channel, started making me want to go to college for welding, and yeah, this welder actually started it all, and I'm still using it today. Now, if you've seen this welder right here, this is another Lincoln Electric. This is only a 120 volt input. So the reason I bought this was because one of my friends was selling it, and it was kind of too good of a price to pass up. This is the same welder you'd buy for $500 at Lowe's. It's not really the best welder for what I need. It just doesn't have the proper power I need to really burn the metal into the base metal, so therefore getting a good strong weld. This more just kind of sits on top of the material, and you know, the first couple welds I was able to knock it off with a hammer. So not really happy with this welder. It just doesn't have the proper power that I need. It does have the capability of using gas. That's why you see a gas bottle right there with a regulator on it. I have been trying this out using gas and using solid wire, and I'm not really happy with it. It's just doesn't have the power that I need, and I more need to play around with it. I'm kind of using too big of wire. I'm using .035, which is what I use in here. It's not that great for here. I need to use a smaller wire and see if that produces a better weld. But now that I have the new welder, this is probably just gonna sit here, and it's more of a backup welder. So I'll be honest, this was not the original welder that I was planning on buying a couple months ago. Originally, I was planning on buying Harbor Freight's Vulcan Omni Pro. That's Vulcan's multi-process welder. It's the same thing as this, the MIG, TIG, and stick welder. In the end, after buying everything, it would have been almost $1,000 cheaper to buy that welder. I decided against it just because it's Harbor Freight, and Harbor Freight's not the best. The reason I was considering actually buying it was because Chucky2009, if you haven't heard of who he is, you need to watch his videos if you're into welding. But he reviewed that welder, and what he said was, for the price, it's actually not that bad of a welder. So for the price, it was actually pretty good, is what he said. That's why I was really considering buying it. It was more around my price range. But I was more like, you know, I don't want to buy something that I'm just going to regret buying a couple months down the road. So therefore, I waited a couple more months to be able to afford the much better welder. And you can't go wrong with a Lincoln Electric. These machines are amazing. I've done a lot of research, a lot of good reviews on this machine. And, you know, no negative reviews, 5 stars all the way. And yeah, I'm really happy that I finally bought one of these things. So I really want to plug this in and fire it up for the first time and start welding right now. It's able to run on the smaller, you know, normal 110 outlet, which is what I normally use. I don't want to use this just because I'm tired of not having the, you know, the power that I need. I want to use the 210 or 220. We are going to have a couple issues, unfortunately, if we do want to use this. Alright, so we are having a bit of an issue with using the 220 plug that this welder comes with. This shed doesn't have 220 outlets, unfortunately. So if I want to use the 220 plug, I can either, you know, spend how much money, maybe $800 in running 220 outlets to this shed, or I could just use this generator that my friend sold me. My friend sold me this generator for like $600. This is a CAT RP 550. This produces 5,500 watts running, 6,875 watts starting, whatever that means. But it does have this, you know, 120 and 240 outlet. So this does have a 220 or 240 outlet. Now, it is kind of a weird outlet. I bought an extension cord for it. It has this, which this is a L1430 plug, and this is a L1430 outlet. I'm having a bit of an issue trying to find a plug that'll fit from here to here. I couldn't find anything. I did find an adapter that goes from this. This is the female side that plugs into the welder. This is a L620. I did find an adapter that goes from a female side L620 to a male side of the L1430. That adapter was $30. I spent an extra $50 in shipping just to get it here a little bit sooner. But with that adapter, I will be able to run this generator for the welder. It is going to kind of be a pain having to drag this outside every time I want to weld it with this generator, but I'm just probably going to use it for now. Eventually I'll get tired of it and spend the extra money, dig up my backyard again, and run a couple 220 outlets to this shed. But for now, this is just going to have to work. We are going to have to wait another couple days for that adapter. So for now, let's find a place to put this welder for good. Alright, so yesterday I hooked everything up, and this is where I am choosing to permanently keep this new welder. My other Lincoln Electric welder that was here, I took that out, put it somewhere else, and this is where this is going to be from now on. Now, of course, I had to plug it in and fire it up. I hooked up the gas bottles. So here are where I'm going to be keeping my bottles. This is like the best spot to have these just because there's not too many sparks over here. Nothing's... yeah, it's about to rain again. There's not really too many sparks around here, so this is like the only good place to have these. This one's the argon, and this one's the argon and CO2 mix. This one's for MIG, this one's for TIG. I know I'm not really supposed to, you know, have these held back with rope. I'm supposed to have chain, but I don't really have any chain right now, so Rope's just gonna have to do for now until I go back to the store, whenever that is. So of course, when I first plugged this in, hooked up the bottles, and turned it on for the first time, of course I had to try it with, and yes, it was only with the 110, a normal wall outlet. I am surprised at how well this works. Now, with the other Lincoln Electric welder, the one I bought for like, the one that's originally $500 at Lowe's, I tried that, and that was also, you know, plugged into a normal wall outlet, 110, and I gotta say, I had the thing cranked up to the max, and it just wasn't getting hot enough, it wasn't powerful enough, it wasn't strong enough to actually melt the weld metal into the base metal, and it more just pulled up in the corner and just sat on top of the material. And that's kind of what I expected with this, with, you know, plugging it into a normal wall outlet, and that is totally not the case. This machine blows away the other cheaper Lincoln Electric welder, which it should. The cheaper one is only $500 at Lowe's. This one, for just the machine, was $1,200 for just the machine. So, you know, big price difference and incredible performance difference. This, even on 110, blows my mind with how well this thing works. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's finally get to the one thing you clicked this video on. Let's start welding and show you what this machine can do. So right now I have it, you know, set up for MIG, simple, turn it on. I'm not gonna really get into too many details and too technical with how this machine works. If you guys want me to do a review video of this machine, let me know in the comments below, and I will do a review of this welder. But with this video, it's more just showing you what I got, and let's finally stop talking and actually start welding. I actually did buy a new helmet when I bought this new welder, just because, you know, here's my old helmet. I'm really tired of it. It's definitely disgusting, and, you know, I'm tired of not being able to see out of this thing. So that's why I invested in an actually decent brand of a welding helmet. So yeah, finally got a new helmet. You know, I was getting a new machine, so I had to spend the extra little money and get it also get a new. So we're just doing some simple T-joints, and I'm going to be playing around with the camera a bit just to see if I can actually get you to see the weld puddle. I'm going to play around with the exposure and the, you know, focus and all that kind of stuff. So simple T-joints. I did grind the mill scale off. I will be, you know, MIG welding with this one, and then with this I'll be TIG welding on that. So not really sure if you guys were able to see that. I did play around with the focus and the exposure, but that right there, oops, that right there is MIG, and I still need to play around with the wire feed and the voltage with this, you know, thick material that I'm welding. But let's move on to TIG. Alright, so let's now try TIG welding, my personal favorite way of welding. I have it set to 98 amps. I'm not really sure what it needs for this thick material, but let's just try this and see how well it works. Alright, so here are some of the results of welding with this machine. Now, I tried playing around with the camera, turning down the exposure a lot, presetting the focus and all that kind of stuff, zooming in a lot, and I tried to see if I can get this camera to, you know, record me actually welding where you can see it. Haven't really watched those videos yet, so I'm not sure if it worked or not, but here are some of the results of welding. I know these aren't really perfect. I'm still playing around with wire thickness, wire speed, voltage, or amperage, I forgot what it was, and you know, but for some of my first times welding with this machine, I'd say that's pretty good. I still need to dial it in and, you know, make sure it's perfect. With this one, I kind of didn't have it hot enough, and the toes of the weld didn't really fuse properly. And here's some TIG welding that I did. Now this one I did, I'm having a bit of a, bear with me, I'm kind of having a bit of glaring issues. There we go. So with this one, I walked the cup and it was still a little bit too cold, and you know, I had a hard time getting it to fuse and cooperate. Now, yesterday I had it set perfectly. This is actually thick material. This is 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch, and look at this. I'm actually really happy with that. How that turned out, that one, and this one right here. I'm really happy with this right here just because it's perfectly smooth. And I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to TIG welding and MIG welding and all that kind of stuff. I didn't stick weld. I haven't tried stick welding with this machine yet, but I don't use stick welding, so I'm probably not even gonna bother buying electrodes for this machine. But now something that I tried yesterday was I actually welded and bent some pipe. These are all kind of some form of a bend test. Basically, you know, take two pieces of pipe, put a bevel on it. That's what it looked like before I welded it together. I actually put a bevel on there on both sides, butted up, put about a 1/16 of an inch gap on each of them, and then weld it all up with different machines and bend it, see how well it does. Now these top two right here are actually welded from the new machine. This is TIG welding. I kind of had a hard time TIG welding this right here just because I was freehanding the whole time, and it being pipe, I had to constantly stop and start, so I had a little bit of trouble welding this. It doesn't look perfect. I kind of wish it looked a little bit more neat, but it held up really well. Now this is actually a 2-pass layer, so I bent it really, you know, it's not a 90 degree, but I could have probably bent it a 90 degree and it wouldn't have bent or wouldn't have broken or anything, and it totally held up with that. This is MIG welding. This is only 1 pass, and look at it. There's no cracks, no nothing. I bent it a lot directly over the weld and nothing. It held up like a champ. Now, so the same cannot be said for my other welders. This is actually my MIG flux welder. This is the welder that I've been using for years. You can see that, yes, it did break open. It did, you know, bend quite a bit before it broke open, and you can actually see that the weld itself cracked. It didn't pull out from the base metal. The weld got really good penetration, and just the weld material itself failed. There is some points right there, like, you know, right about there where it didn't fuse in properly. It probably cold lapsed, but you know, it's not the greatest sign of, you know, the MIG flux welding, but it did bend pretty well, and the weld did fail, but it's nowhere near what this is. Now this is actually MIG solid with the other welder, the cheaper welder, the one I bought last week. You can see this is really bad. Now the weld itself, if this camera would focus, the weld itself doesn't look that bad. I mean, it looks like it would hold up, but no, look at this. It totally pulled out of the base metal. It did not get a good penetration into the base metal. It did not fuse properly. I bent it a tiny little bit and it just pulled right out of the base metal. So the weld may look good, it may look strong, but no. Looks can be deceiving with MIG. So now before I bought this new welder, I did do the same test, this pipe bending test with that machine, and it did the same result. So yeah, it does look like a good weld, but it just does not hold up. I did have the machine cranked up to as hot as it would go. I did have the wire speed tuned in, but if you're wondering, the wire thickness I was using was 0.035 thickness. I was using the same shielding gas as the one I'm using now. So this, with the cheaper welder, with the cheaper Lincoln Electric welder, is totally a failure. The MIG flux is, yes, a failure, but it did bend, you know, a lot before it did fail. With these, the new welder, the MIG and the TIG, it did a whole lot better than any of the other machines that I have. So I am in love with this new machine, and yeah. Now I know I've been rambling this entire video, but this is not a build video. This is more just a video of me showing you my new machine, showing you, you know, some welding of it. So I gotta say, after trying this new welder out for the first time and doing a couple bend tests, seeing the results of actually welding with the new machine versus the old machine, I am so glad that I finally invested some money in a really good machine, and I'm bummed out that I kind of didn't do it sooner, but it did take me a long time to be able to afford this better machine, and I'm really glad I did not settle and buy the Harbor Freight Vulcan Omni Pro. I'm really glad I did not do that. Anyway, I know I've been rambling on this entire video. I know you guys don't like it when I ramble on in my videos, but this was not a build video. This is a, you know, a video of me showing off my new welder, showing a little bit of welding, explaining a bunch of stuff. So of course I'm going to be rambling on this entire video. Now I still want to try this new welder with the 240 outlet, the bigger outlet that it comes with. I'm still waiting for that part to get here in the mail, but you know, I think we did enough testing with the with it plugged in with the normal outlet, the 110. I think we did enough testing. We found out that this machine is awesome, even with the limited capabilities it can do with being plugged into the 110. I'm in love with this machine already. Now, like I said before, if you still want me to do a review video of this machine, let me know in the comments below, and I will do a full review video, a lot more talking, more welding and stuff like that. But for now, I gotta end the video here. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, and have a nice day.